Hi, good evening, all of you, and welcome to Learn Stroke IS classes by Arjun. Welcome to today's session. We are going to discuss the MCQ practice because, as a lot of you know, that prelims is always a nightmare for all the aspirants who are preparing for civil services. Prelims is always a nightmare because it's very difficult to crack prelims. As a lot of people know, it's very difficult to crack prelims, and sometimes what happens is UPSC always keeps unpredictable pattern here. The prelims pattern is always unpredictable, and that is why a lot of people have a lot of issues regarding solving the questions of prelims. And with less than just 160, 170 days for the prelims examination, LearnStroke has actually started a new series called MCQ Practice, which is actually based from current affairs. So let me tell you one thing. This session, I will actually come up with a question, we'll come up with the answer, and also we'll come up with the topic discussion. We'll come up with the discussion itself. So what happens here is you can actually have an understanding because the discussion itself is like a current affair topic discussion. So don't just think that this is just a question discussion. Each and everything that we discussed in the question is also an important current affairs topic that we are studying here. So let's make sure that we study the most important topics in the next 45 minutes. So if you're ready, we'll just quickly go on to that. And good evening, Dr. Shreya. Good evening, Nidhi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this session. And I think we'll quickly move on to the first important topics. And before that, in the meanwhile, you're joining this session with me, Arjun R. Shankar. I've been active in the civil services mentoring field for the last 13 plus years and rolling on my 14th year in civil services mentoring. And you're and if you have not downloaded the LearnStroke IAS classes app, please do download it. You have a lot of features to be watched inside this. And if you want to meet me directly, if you're anywhere in Kerala, you can feel free to meet us in Thrissur, Calicut, and Kannur. Future Next IAS is our offline brand, and you can actually visit us also. And moving on to the first important questions, if you're ready, I think if you're ready, we'll move on. I can just see your comments live and real time also. So if you're ready, we'll move on. So I think ready with the first question. So we'll do one thing. When I ask you this first question, I'll give you 5 to 10 seconds to go through the screen. So go through the screen. We'll do it like this. I'll read the question just like in the exam hall. We will actually read the question and you can find the question, answer yourself, and maybe you can comment in the chat box also, and then we'll find the answer. So is that clear? Is that ready? I think we'll do it in that way. Okay, perfect enough. So please do engage in the chat box also. That will be really good. And okay, so I think the concept is very clear. So let's go on. So here we go to the first question of today's first session. Here we go to the first important session. Here we go. Consider the following statements regarding defamation. Okay, you can see I've created all the questions that usually appear in the prelims examination. So definitely there is a reason why all these questions are asked. Consider the following statements regarding defamation. Number one, defamation is a criminal offense that carries a prison sentence and doesn't cover civil cases. Defamation is defined in Section 498A of the IPC, and the punishment is outlined in Section 500. India presently does not have an explicit prohibition on cyber defamation. So these are the important type of questions that we should be expecting because the 2023 completely started and came up with this type of options. So first of all, what you need to do is read the question. To answer such questions, what you need to do is to answer such question, you have to make your choices right away. See, I'm just making an example, okay? You have to mark the options right away to get an answer. So take your time and just take 10 seconds or more than 10 seconds to answer. Defamation is a criminal offense that carries a prison sentence and doesn't cover civil cases. It's defined in Section 498 of the Indian Penal Code and the punishment is 500. India does not have an explicit prohibition on cyber defamation. So, which one of the following is the answer? You can actually come up with the answers also. And let me also clearly tell you that we have a small latency in the YouTube, because right now I can see uh, you are actually watching it 15 to 20 seconds with a delay. I'm actually 15-20 seconds ahead. So you have an answer? Please mark the answers. You can mark the answers itself. Just give a try. It's just give a try. That is how you actually make a point in this. And okay, so any answers? Because I'm this is not like a Zoom. I'm not getting a direct feed. If you want to try A, B, C, D, you can just put it in. Maybe I can just see the answers also. So I've given you the time. Let's go to the important section. Let's find the answer. The answer was none of the statement were correct, because let's see, none of the statements are that carries a prison sentence. This statement is absolutely right and doesn't cover civil cases. This statement is wrong. Because defamation, because why is defamation in the news? You can take a look at this. Why is even defamation actually in the news? You can just take a time. You've seen that a lot of actors filed defamation case, Mahua Maitra defamation case, even the Rahul Gandhi, Narendra Modi defamation case. So such, this is the reason why defamation is actually in the news. And I'm sure you should be definitely expecting a question on defamation. So it doesn't carry a civil case. This is absolutely wrong. It is even for criminal and civil. This both defamation applies for both. And defamation is defined in section 498 of the IPC. So please do understand in this context that section 498 is very, very popular, that appears in the news every now and then. It is not defamation. Section 500 is right. It is actually for defamation. 498, you must have seen about, most often you must have heard about dowry debts or husband and wife divorce cases. Most often they fire 498. That means cruelty towards women, etc. That is the section that is being most used in the divorce cases. And India presently does not have an explicit prohibition of cyber defamation. This is absolutely wrong. India is also having a law on cyber defamation. So in this context of cyber defamation, you know, this is a question that can be formed from the current affairs for 2024. You should be ready to solve such questions. Okay, that is the reason, that is the purpose of creating this free series. And in this context, we should be learning what do you mean by libel and what do you mean by slander. All these are important concepts from defamation. So we learn what do you mean by libel, what do you mean by slander, etc. Let's check out the defamation cases law. And this is the reason, in the last, at least in the last 6 to 7 months, you will read that definitely there are different news coming for the examination. And also understand, for 2024, you will understand one thing. For 2024 examination, examination, you should have one very clear cut important idea regarding that. See, the exam comes in May last. So from June to July, at least from July 23 to April 24, whatever is the important news frames that comes in this timeline is very important for the civil service examination. So definitely in the last 6, 7, 8, at least there are more than 10 defamation cases. That is why we have discussed this important issue. And let's go into the important aspects of that. Here we go. So defamation is both criminal and civil. Point number one, the Indian Penal Code 1860 IPC codifies the criminal law on defamation, whereas defamation in the civil is actually, offense is actually read under the law of tort. Very important. It's actually read, the civil cases are actually under the law of tort, and IPC categorized criminal on that. So that is point number one, something that you should definitely know about defamation cases. And the how can you actually file a defamation case is another important question that you need to understand in this concept. So defamation is defined as any spoken, written, or even visual statement about another person designed to damage that person's reputation. It can be either spoken, it can be written, it can be a visual thing. So please understand in this context what is libel and what is slander. So libel is when a statement is made permanently. You make out a statement that this is not, this person is bad. Whereas slander occurs when few inconsequential work or gestures are used. Like defamation by use of libel is simply use of words, and slander is actually by words spoken in a temporary nature. So libel means it's permanent. You make a permanent remark. You make a permanent remark, but you make a slander is a temporary remark or a gesture. So please get the difference between slander and libel. Very important from this perspective, and what you mean by this concept is clearly important. And what was section 98? So in this context, you should understand. In this context, you should really understand that it was actually 499. When you see IPC, it was not 498. This is actually 499. Defamation cases are actually 499 and actually charged by 500. So IPC 499 and 500 are the most important things that we have to remember here. So 498A is actually uh, the husband or the relative of husband of a woman subjecting her to cruelty. Most often, domestic violences are included in 498A. Please remember, every now and then, such news always, domestic violence news always appear in the newspaper. It is 498A which is being charged. Defamation is 499. So even India has a cyber defamation, and most importantly, remember Information Technology Act 2000 is very, very important. And remember, please remember section 66A. 66A is very, very important. Whoever that sends anyone something using a computer resource or a communication device is prohibited. So 66A and Information IT Act, please remember, this is definitely covered under this. So definitely that brings us the concept of defamation here. Please remember the concept of libel and slander. And I think you got this question clearly. So shall we move on to the next question? And so did anybody get this right? Did anybody get this right? I don't know. Please, you can. Why don't you chat? Actually, don't actually be scared, or don't feel very odd to chat your comment. Actually, please feel to give out your answers. See, if you're not answering this question, then make sure that you are answering it in your paper. Try answering this question, because like UPSC prelims is always like this. You cannot complete the current affairs, but you should always be ready to solve those questions. Okay, so ready? Let's move to the next question. Here we go. Consider the following statements regarding dispute settlement system of the WTO. That means what is DSS? DSS of WTO. You should be ready for this statement. What is DSS of the WTO? The WTO's dispute settlement system is called its crown jewel. It's called crown jewel. The dispute settlement body has the sole authority to establish a panel of experts to consider the case and to accept or reject the panel's finding or the results of an appeal. So this is a body has the sole authority to establish panels of experts to consider the case or to accept or reject a panel's findings or the results of an appeal. So this has got this much power. It has the power to monitor, but not to. It has the power to monitor, but not to authorize retaliation when a country does not comply with a ruling. So this thing is definitely in the news. Dispute settlement system of WTO. You must have heard about WTO, which is the World Trade Organization, which every time you can just check 1 week's newspaper, you will definitely see WTO inside this. You can definitely see such newspapers, definitely see this. And what is the answer of this question? Please try reading it. If you haven't, see, this is the question: only one, only two, only three, none. Because in order to answer this question, you have to make your choices like this, or else you're just marking it sample. Only if you know this, you can actually go for this. So, what is the answers? See, any idea? Should we go for this? WTO dispute is called crown jewel, and I think we should go to the question also. We should go to the answer. I've given you time to check out the answers and even comment the answers if you want to. Let's check the answers immediately. The answer was correct is only two. Only two is the correct option because WTO disputes settlement DSS is called its crown jewel is absolutely right statement. This is in the current affairs. The dispute settlement body has the sole authority to establish panels exactly to consider the case and to accept or reject the panel's finding or result of an appeal. Absolutely right. It has the power to monitor, but not to authorize retaliation. This statement is wrong because it has the power to retaliate. This has the power to retaliate. Very important. This has the power to retaliate. So I think you must be definitely knowing that there is an agency called WTO out here. Definitely a World Trade Organization. Imagine that there is a country called A and B, and A is actually trading with B, and B is actually trading with A. So while A was trading apples, imagine that A was trading apples to B, A was giving apples to B, B has created certain restrictions through which the sale of Apple is not happening in B. So they have put out certain restrictions through which the sale is not happening in the country B. That means A has all the rights to go to WTO on a complaint. They can complain on B, say that my Apple production, B is actually doing unfair mechanisms. B is actually doing unfair mechanisms and not letting my Apple inside the country B. And there is unfair means being used. So always understand a country called A can always complain about B in WTO, World Trade Organization. And this case, the most important thing that we have to remember is the dispute settlement body of the WTO or the DSS, dispute settlement system, comes into place in this context, in the context of WTO. Okay, so let's find out what you mean by this concept, and let's find out what you mean by this concept clearly. So these are the important reasons why this came in the newspapers. Will G20 stand against the bulldozer tactics of WTO and WTO's dispute settlement system? What about this? So these are the reasons why this is appearing in the current affairs. Okay, so this is the reason why you should definitely read this question. So please understand, point number one, settling dispute is the responsibility of dispute settlement body. Please remember this question. Country A and B, they are selling, A is selling Apple to B. So B is not allowing. So definitely, if there is a settlement, if there is a problem, dispute is definitely the main duty of WTO. And dispute settlement body has the sole authority to establish panels. They will create few panels to discuss this. Like they have created a panel. They have created a panel called X, which is discussing the problem of country A and B, and this is regarding the concept of Apple sale. This is regarding the concept of Apple sale that has happened. So this and established the panels and accept or reject the panel's findings or result of an appeal. So this is ultimately DSS does all this thing. It monitors the implementation of the rulings and recommendation and has the power to authorize retaliation when a country does not comply with the ruling. Imagine that B says, I am not going to accept the decision of WTO. I do not care about WTO. So definitely WTO or the DSS has the power to retaliate against B. So I think you got this example clearly. So this is all regarding the WTO settlement. I think the DSS system is clear, and it is definitely called the crown jewel, and it is a two-tiered system where the appellate body is the second tier. Always remember, this is a two-tiered body where the appellate body is the second tier, and the appellate body hears appeals from WTO. So please understand that this is the WTO and this is the DSS. It's a two-tier body. It's a two-tier body, and WTO hears DSS hears the appeals from WTO. It hears the appeals. Just like High Court and Supreme Court, you can understand this. It hears the appeal. So here appeal from the WTO. So it was very good. 1995 to 2019, it was doing absolutely good. But in 2019, the role of DSS actually weakened. Very important. From 2019, the role of DSS has actually come down. Why? Because you can see the most important thing that you can remember is the role of United States of America. The USA created a lot of issues with WTO. And after 2019, you can see that the DSS is not working properly. Now, a lot of people, a lot of countries have come together that by 2024, we should see that the DSS should really work good. So, America has had a small time issue in this. You can check out this. It has been redundant since 2019, and disputes filed into void. And you can see that in 2022, Geneva Ministerial Conference members signed a deal to resurrect WTO's DSS by 2024. So DSS is going to come into full action. So please understand about this concept called. See, this is the reason why I told you each and every question's discussion itself is a current affair topic discussion. So the primary obstacle was from the United States of America, and the US said that WTO is nothing but has created a judicial overreach by appellate authority. And you must have heard about in the polity what is called as judicial activism and judicial overreach. What is judicial activism or judicial review? You must have heard about this concept called judicial activism or judicial review. So the United States said WTO is having a judicial overreach by having DSS. So please remember, the appellate body is the critical component of DSS, providing a mechanism resolution of disputes between member countries and the rule of international laws. So always remember, this is WTO and this is DSS, the dispute settlement. The appeals, everything, all the appeal goes to DSS, just like High Court to Supreme Court. Please remember that point clearly. I think I have briefly given you the idea about what is this, the concept of DSS and why DSS and how DSS works clearly. I think you're ready, and let's go to the next question. Ready? Consider the following statements regarding the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill 2023. See, this is exactly how the UPSC goes. You can get to watch a lot of questions like this, and you go and sit in the exam hall. You feel that you have studied everything, but when you see these questions, you feel that you have not studied it properly. Consider the following statements regarding the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill. Definitely, this is in the current affairs. And let's find out why this topic is very important. We have to find out this. Number one. So this is in the old pattern. You can actually eliminate this. You can actually eliminate this question. The bill amends the Forest Conservation Act of 1980 to make it applicable to certain type of lands. That means 1980 is the most important thing, whether it is right or wrong. Construction of highways, hydel projects in geographically sensitive areas within 100 kilometers in line of control. So you must be knowing about line of LAC, the LOC, line of control, and line of actual control in China. So in 100 kilometers of line of control will require a statutory clearance. It requires a statutory clearance. The bill allows running zoos, safaris, and ecotourism. Current affairs, you should be, see, this is going to tell you one more thing. When you read current affairs, you should be ready to prepare questions on this. You should be ready to face this question. So don't worry, by 2024 prelims examination, we'll do this series continuously to cover most topics from the current affairs. So number one, the bill amends the Forest Conservation Act 1980. Do you know this? Or can you construct to do any construction in highway, hydel projects anywhere regarding the 100 kilometer of line of control will require a statutory forest clearance. And the bill allows, this is the key word, for zoos, safari, and ecotourism facilities. So what is the answer? 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, and none of the above. So what is your answer? Take 5 seconds, read this question and type out your answer. What is your answer? Please try to find out. Let's see it. Let's find out if you have an answer on that. Okay, let's go to the answer. Ready? Let's go to the answer. Let's see if you got the right answer or not. The answer was 1 and 3. Correct answer is 1 and 3. That means this statement is correct and this statement is correct. The bill amends 1980. Definitely the 1980 Act is actually being amended here. And construction of hydroelectric projects in 100 kilometer of sensitive areas of line of control will need a statutory clearance is absolutely wrong. You do not need any clearance. You do not need any clearance. This is exempted. So 100 kilometer of line of control LOC and LAC is actually exempted from all this. So the bill allows zoos, safaris, and ecotourism facilities. Both the statements are correct. So in this context, you should see why is Forest Conservation Bill, the Forest Conservation Amendment Bill, very very important. So why is this important? Let's understand the context of why this act is important. So basically, understand that one aspect is regarding the environmental angle. Definitely, this bill is environmental angle, and always understand certain lands. Imagine that this is land, and there are different categorization of lands. Like this is one, this is two. So according to the new law, there are certain lands are actually classified into different aspects. And regarding what are some of the exemptions in this, we have to find out this. This act completely talks about all these aspects. I think this is clear. One has got an environmental angle, and the second one is one classification of lands. Certain lands are classified according to this. What are the classification of lands and what are some of the exemptions? So let's find out all this and let's see why this news appeared in the. Why did I ask this question? See how many news, community rights and forest conservation. What is the Forest Conservation Amendment Act 2023? Why do central and state governments, and what is the Forest Amendment Bill 2013, and what is the Forest Amendment Bill 2000? A death knell. So these are the reasons why the news are actually coming in the. So let's find out the important aspect regarding that. You can see that the Forest Conservation Amendment was actually passed by the Lok Sabha, point number one, and to amend the decade-old 1980 bill. So the ultimate idea was to amend the 1980 bill. That is the key question. And you should actually find out that it is actually trying to implement certain statute in the Supreme Court Order 1996 in the TN Godavarman Thirumalpad versus Union of India. Please remember, Godavarman Thirumalpad is a very important case regarding environment and to make the new challenges. So this is actually, let's find out, this is actually meant to amend this act. Very clear? And one more thing regarding the environmental aspect that I wanted to tell you. India's commitment net emission by 2070. So this is a target that India is actually kept, achieving net zero emission by 2070. So I request all of you to please find out, if you do not know what is the concept of net zero emission, please try to find it, read about. If you do not know, please try to find it, what is net zero emission. And one more important, you can expect a question on net zero emission. Also one more question, what is NDC? I'm not going into the details of that. You can please find it. I'm giving you a task. Find it, nationally determined contribution target. So I'm asking you to find out what is NDC, because this article clearly mandates what is net zero emission and what is NDC. Try to find out the answers for that. Okay. So this is one thing is definitely it talks about the amendment talks about net zero emission and also India's NDC target. What is NDC target? And let's move on. Next is regarding the classification of land. Next is regarding the classification of land, and I'm just coming here. Next is regarding so one thing, it according to the 1980 Act, it covers all the land that has been declared or notified as a forest under the 1927 Act or any other law. So it includes that. I mean, you're getting this point. We are going to cover certain lands. So what according to the law is the land that is being discussed here? Very important. All these are very important. So take one example of this land. One portion is everything that is actually covered under 1927 Act. All the land that is actually mentioned in the 1927 Act or any other law. That is actually number one. Number two, it also covers the land that has been recorded on forest on or after 1980. Very important. Second, land is after 1980. Any act, any land that has been recorded or covered under the law of a 1980, such as maintained by a revenue department, forest department, or any authority, local authority, community council recognized by state government, any land that has been recorded on or after 25th October 1980. Very important. Please remember this date. That is the second land that is being discussed here. We should be very clear about this. One is 1927 and the second is 25 October 1980. On or after 1980 by authority, local body, state government, council, anything. And the third is it talks about an exemption. It talks about an exemption. At this is the two lands, and this talks about one very important exemption. Exemption is certain lands were actually converted like this. Certain lands were actually converted into forest, into non-forest lands. Very important. Certain lands were actually classified or converted into forest to non-forest lands. Take an example. See, which has been changed from forest to non-forest use on or after 1996. So the year is 1996. So any by the state authority or say after 1996. After 1996. So this is such lands are exempted from this forest, this act. So very, very important. One is always remember one keywords is one is 1927, second is on or after 1980, and the third is conversion of lands. Forest to non-forest after 1996. And please remember 1996 is very important. The case of Thirumalpad is very, very important. The case of Thirumalpad. Please remember this. This is the most important point that I wanted to tell you. And please do understand the next important aspect of the Amendment Act is highways, highway projects, anything that you construct geographically within 100 kilometers of international borders or line of control will no longer require a forest clearance. Very, very important point. If you want to do it in LAC or LOC, in international borders or the line of control does not require a clearance. And the act also said that you can actually create checkpost, fencing, bridges in all these areas are allowed. And also you can run zoos, safari and ecotourism facilities in all these areas. So this is the most important points that I wanted to discuss in this context. So I think you got this question clearly. Now can you answer this question? The bill definitely makes a lot of certain type of lands correct. Construction does not require a statutory requirement. This statement is wrong. The bill also allows zoos, safaris, exactly correct. So the answer is 1 and 3. See, you should actually try to answer in this speed for the prelims examination. Okay, so that is the most important thing that I wanted to tell you. So let's move on to the next important question. Let's move to the next important question. Here we go. Manipur shares the border with which of the following? Why is Manipur in the news? Definitely, you talk about Manipur issue. Definitely, what if UPSC comes out with an answer like this? Manipur shares the borders with which of the following states? Or it's not mentioned states because two countries are also mentioned. Two countries are also mentioned, so it is not mentioning about a state. Manipur shares the border with which of the following? Tripura, Myanmar, Bangladesh, and Nagaland. So what is the answer? Take 5 seconds to find out the answer. And if you want to try out spelling out the answers, please want to try out the answers. Please try out the answers. Manipur shares the border, and the reason why we talk about the Manipur issue, everybody knows about the Manipur issue. And in this context, it's very important that you know about Tripura, Myanmar, Bangladesh. So what is the answer? Anybody want to give an answer? Please shoot out the answer if you want to give out the answer. Please do comment. If you want to comment, definitely comment. Please do comment on that. Shall I answer the question? I'll answer the question quickly. Let's find out the answer. The answer was only two. The answer was only two. Only two pairs because Tripura is wrong, Myanmar is correct, Bangladesh is wrong, and Nagaland is correct. So two answers are completely involved in this. So if you check out the map, let's see, you know why the news is very important, and let's check out the map clearly. You will understand this news very clearly. Look at where Manipur is located. Look at where Manipur is located. It has definitely got Myanmar. You can see on the top, you can see Nagaland. Nagaland to the north, Nagaland to the north, Mizoram to the south, Assam to the west. You can see this is Assam. Assam to the west and Myanmar to the east. Very, very important. You can check Nagaland to the north, Mizoram to the south, Assam to the west, and Myanmar to the west. And you can see that Bangladesh is not even inside this. This is not even covering Bangladesh. So please understand the, the strategic location of Manipur makes it a key state in northeastern of India, connecting the country to the Southeast Asia through its border Myanmar. Very, very, very important point that you should understand here, because you clearly got an idea about where Manipur is located. And one more point that I want to give you, it is the key state in northeastern India connecting the country to the southeastern country. So from this you can see it connects to Myanmar and the other portions of the countries. So this is the importance of Manipur. So Manipur also does not share a direct border with Bangladesh. Manipur is definitely a landlocked state. What if they ask you Manipur is a landlocked state? Do you know that? What is the answer regarding that? Manipur is a landlocked state. Correct. You can see it's a landlocked state. It has no connection with Bangladesh. So this is the clear-cut answer that you should be definitely expecting. For prelims 2024, I surely believe that you should be knowing this question about Manipur and have an idea about the other northeastern states also. Let's go into the next important question. How does flooding differ from flash flooding in the terms of duration? Very, very important. A question from geography. See, when you get this question, you immediately say that this is a question from geography, but I truly say that this is a question from current affairs. Even for the previous question, if I ask you this question, you will say that this is a question from physical geography or a geography or map. No, this is a question from current affairs. So have this perspective. Flood and flash flood. Flooding lasts for hours, while flash flood lasts for days. Flooding is no longer term event lasting 2 days or a week, while flash flood occurs within minutes or hours. Or both flooding and flash flood have similar durations. Flooding and flash flooding are terms used interchangeably. So I think one thing is very clear. This statement is absolutely wrong. This is a stupid question or the stupid option that you find it, because in UPSC exam you get a lot of such options. I'm sure that this is absolutely wrong. What is the difference between flooding and flash flooding? Let's find out the answer. Uh, okay, I've got the question on Myanmar and Nagaland. As I told you, when you comment below the chat, I told you I am 20 seconds ahead. I'm not able to see the real time answers also, but you can definitely comment. Issues. So it's actually B. Krishna RS says it is B, and let's find out whether it is the right answer or not. Let's check out. Answer absolutely B is correct. Flooding is a long-term event, and the flash flood is actually within minutes or hours. And you know why this question was asked? I don't need to tell you, because in the last 6 months, you can clearly say that even in the cyclone in Tamil Nadu, you can see torrential rains created flash floods here. Created flash floods, and more than you can see 16 killed as a landslip flood in northern India, even in torrential. So one thing is very common here, the concept of torrential rain. Even in Himachal Pradesh, torrential rain, very, very important. So in this context, please do find out, I'm giving you a task, what is a torrential rain? And please understand what is a thunderstorm. What is a thunderstorm? Let's understand. Please understand what is torrential rain. Find out in today after today's class. Please find out what is a torrential rain. Okay, let's find out the most important thing. So a flash flood is a flood caused by heavy or excessive rainfall. So that doesn't mean that you need to have a rainfall itself. Do you feel that flash flood only it is a natural thing? Flash floods only come after a natural? No. It actually a short period of time, generally less than 6 hours. It's actually raging torrents after heavy rains that rip through riverbeds, urban streets. You can see that it's not only regarding the very important. It's, don't think that it's just natural. It can actually rip. It come through the riverbeds, urban streets, mountain canyons, and can occur within minutes or few hours of excessive rainfall. And the most important, please understand torrential rainfall. And they can also occur if no rain has fallen. Very, very important point. Do not believe that it is only torrential rain. Even without no rain, flash flood can happen. See, imagine what is a levee? And bringing your geomorphology or landforms, what is a levee? See, what is the difference between a levee and what is a canyon? what is a canyon, and please remember what is a meander. Please go through the basics of geography, find out the landforms and all this concept. If a dam has failed, runoff will create a sudden release of water by a break or an ice or a jam, and it can even create a flash flood. Very important. So do not believe that this is only through that. We should have a clear idea on that. And the primary cause of flash flood is occurrence of heavy or excessive rainfall within a short duration. And it can actually overwhelm which are places. It can actually overwhelm drainage systems, rivers, waterways, leading to intense, just like what is happening in Chennai, Madras. You can see it can actually come through drainage system, river, and waterways. So flash flood, very very important reason. Find out, and also find out what is the concept of GLOF. What is this? Glacial lake outburst flood. What is the concept of GLOF? For all the people, find out the Sikkim and Himachal Pradesh experience has brought us what is the concept of GLOF. Please do prepare. I'm giving you a task. Glacial lake outburst flood. Please find out. Very, very important for the exam. What is the concept of GLOF? And you can see thunderstorms. Find out what is a thunderstorm. And you can say how can you prevent flash flood is also very important. You can see urban areas with surface such as pavement, concrete can reduce the natural absorption of rainwater. And you can even see construction of resilient infrastructure that can withstand flash flood. So this word is very, very important. What is the concept of resilient infrastructure? Very, very important for even the mains examination. What is the concept of resilient infrastructure? Please do very be resilient infrastructure which can floods, which can actually withstand is the word. So what is resilient infrastructure? Very important. And even natural. If you have a vegetative cover like natural vegetation, like promoting afforestation, can enhance soil stability, reduce runoff, and mitigate the impact of flash flood. So you can one this is man-made thing. One you can construct resilient infrastructure or even have vegetative covers like more afforestation, trees can actually enhance soil stability as well as reduce runoff, and it can reduce the flash flood if you have more vegetative cover and more resilient infrastructure. So please remember these are the important concepts of flash floods that you should definitely be aware about. So I'm going to the next important question. Here we go. What consider the following statements regarding performance grading index for districts or PGID. See, all these are coming in the newspaper, so you should definitely have an idea. Consider the following statements regarding performance grading index or PGID for districts. Number one, Department of School Education and Literacy, the DOSEL, Ministry of Education has released it. So this is one statement. The PGI district grades the districts into 10 grades. Very important, it grades into 10 grades. The highest achievable grade is Param, which is district scoring 90% of the total youth points. That means, what is TABDO? The concept called TABDO or TABDO is an indicator stands for Teacher Advancement and Pedagogy Development Order. Which of the following statements are correct? You should select the correct statement. Correct statements. So for option only one, only two, only three, and none. So please find out what is PGID. Very typical UPSC type of question that I want to tell you. So basically, you have to understand all these are the performance PGID. These are actually a set of indicators. These are actually a set of indicators through which you can actually find out the education impact. Very important. You can find out the education impact or the education growth in our districts, in the districts of India. So you can even mention which is the best district according to this. You can actually have a clear-cut idea on that. So let's find out the important answer regarding this. What is the answer? Uh, I think B. Darshana Padmanabhan says it is B, only two. Only two. So that means which are the options we need to find out, which are the important options regarding this. So let's find out. The answer was only one. The answer was only one because which of the following statement is correct? Because only this statement is correct. This statement is wrong because it definitely grades into 10 grades, but the highest achievable grade is not Param. It's not Param. It is actually called Daksh. It's actually given in the report, and even the government has released this concept. It's actually called Daksh. And Tabdo is an indicator, is definitely an indicator, but this is not the abbreviation of Tabdo. So definitely only one statement is correct, and that statement was only one. It was one only. So definitely wrong. What is this Tabdo? So let's quickly understand about this concept. This is the reason why I asked this question. Ministry of Education releases this for the year 2021. More than 742 districts was actually mentioned in this. And let's quickly understand what is the important concepts regarding this. And those the important thing that you should remember. A combined report and of 2021 and 22, you can see, and you can see some statistics. Indian education system is one of the largest in the world with 14.9 lakh schools in India, 95 lakh teachers, and nearly 26.5 crore students from various backgrounds. So please understand, this is the important totality where we can actually find out. And you can just take a look at this. The highest achievable grade that we discussed was Daksh. It was actually Daksh with scoring 90% of the total points, and the lowest grade was called Akanshi 3. So Daksh and Akanshi, please have a remember idea about this. So that was the point that we discussed here. Okay, fair enough. And see, you can just come back. Also, I'm just putting out here. You can see what is Tabdo, by the way. Tabdo was actually given learning. You can actually see teacher availability and professional development outcome. So all these are not important. You can see access outcome, learning. LO means learning outcomes, learning management, LM. Learn. You don't have to remember all this. Okay, you don't have to remember all this. But I'm just trying to give you an idea. It's important that you can just learning enrichment activity. So these are all the important outcomes effective. So it is actually given 600 points across 83 indicators, which are grouped into 6 categories: outcome, effective classroom, infrastructure facilities, students entitlement, school safety. All these are important, but just go through this. Do not mug up this. Do not by heart this. Do not mug up it. Just observe. Just have an observation regarding all this. What is SLD? School leadership development. SLD is school level. AMS, it's attendance monitoring system. Just go through this. You can just take a screenshot right now and learn it also. Just take a small screenshot right now. You can actually get this correctly. Okay, so moving on to the next question. Are you ready? Here we go to the next important question. Consider the following statements regarding Open Market Sale Scheme, which is OMSS. Consider the following statements regarding Open Market Sale Scheme or OMSS. The purpose of OMSS is to dispose surplus stocks of wheat and rice held by the FCI to regulate the price of wheat in the open market. This is so it is actually to dispose surplus stocks of wheat and rice regulated in the open market. FCI, the Food Corporation of India, conducts weekly auction for OMSS for wheat on the platform of NCDX or National Commodity and Derivative Exchange Limited. The surplus food grains from the central pool, especially wheat and rice, in the bulk open market are given to states and don't cover individual traders, bulk consumers, or retail chains. Only one to find out the answers, please. Definitely there in the current affairs. I'll be much more quicker. Anybody who want to give out an answer? Only one, only two. The purpose of OMS is to disperse the surplus stocks of. What is the answer? It is through NCDX or it is through its surplus. It's actually given to the states but not given to individual traders, bulk consumers, and retail chains. What is your answer on that? Let's find out. Let's find out the answer. Let's quickly find out. Let's have an understanding very clearly. Let's have an understanding. Let's quickly understand. You know that there is a pool, and there is definitely the Food Corporation of India. There is definitely Food Corporation of India, and definitely there are different type of states here. There are different type of states here. At this point, there are different type of states. So whatever rice or wheat or things goes to FCI, FCI utilizes that, but a portion of that you can see a portion of that is actually being, that is where comes the concept of OMSS. The OMSS, that is the surplus. There's always a mark of surplus. This surplus is actually taken, and the surplus is also distributed. This surplus is always distributed. We have to find out what and why. That is very important in this. So this is where we have to understand. Let's find out the answer. The answer is only two. Only two is the answer. The purpose of OMS is to dispose surplus stocks of wheat, yes, rice, yes, held by Food Corporation, yes, to regulate the prices of wheat, yes, in the open market. Very correct. So whatever wheat and rice, whatever wheat and rice that you create, this is actually sent into the Food Corporation of India. And after that, what is Food Corporation using this? In this context, you should see what is National Food Security Act. The FCI is using the main aspect of wheat and rice for that, but a certain section is used as a surplus. This is actually given through OMSS. It is distributed. So statement number one is clear. And statement number two, FCI actually auctions OMSS through the platform wheat called National Commodity and Derivative Exchange Limited, NCDEX. Very correct. The surplus food grain from central pool, wheat and rice are given to states. Definitely, all the states are waiting for this. Don't cover. This statement is wrong. It definitely gives to individual traders, bulk consumers, or even retail chains. So please understand, it definitely gives to all of this. And I'll give you one important point. Now, the present controversy is that a lot of states, especially certain states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, are actually objecting to the Food Corporation of India is that they are not releasing the surplus to states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu just because central government is saying that there is inflation. There is inflation. The proper surplus is not released to Karnataka and Tamil Nadu and other states. This is the recent controversy, and this is the reason why this news has actually appeared in the current affairs. See, the rice government ready to offload extra 2.5 million tons of FCI, and center and state relations struggle. Tamil Nadu. Let's find out what is the reason of this main tussle. Let's find out this quickly. FCI sells stocks of wheat and rice at a predetermined price. Very correct. It's to dispense wheat and rice held by the FCI, and it's actually through NCDEX that we have already discussed. NCDEX is a commodity exchange platform in India that provides a platform for trading in various agriculture commodities. Very important. So please understand, NCDEX is not only for agriculture, it's trading for agriculture and other commodities. Very important. It's a exchange platform. So FCI, as you can see, was established in 1965 through 1964 Act, and you can also check out the most important points out here. So you can see the government has to set aside wheat and rice for the 80 crore beneficiary under National Food Security Act of NFSA. So that is why this is NFSA. This is given to 80% of this goes to NFSA, and maybe rest of the 20% maybe probably goes to the surplus. And you can see the states like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu criticize the center's move. And please remember Karnataka's Annabhagya scheme, very important. Whereas Annabhagya scheme, the Karnataka government's Annabhagya schemes and Tamil Nadu government's universal PDS scheme are affected because they are not getting the surplus from through OMSS. And Kerala not a participant. Kerala not a participant in OMSS. Plan to go against center's food distribution policy. So this is the state reaction. This is why they are not, because the central government believes this is to control inflationary trends and maintain adequate stock levels in the central pool. That is the reason why they are not releasing it. So this is the important point that you have to remember in this context. So please remember what is the concept of OMSS in the current affairs. Okay, so please remember Annabhagya scheme. Going on to the next important question, here we go quickly. I'll just go quickly and complete this. What is the primary objective of Central Tibetan Administration or CTA? establish an independent Tibet state, representing and governing Tibetan diaspora, promoting Chinese cultural integration, advocating free entry for Chinese territories and citizenship rights. What is the primary objective? See, many of the options can also be right. I just want you to tell me. Uh, Nijita has already given the answer as B. So, representing and governing Tibetan diaspora. So, why is this central Tibetan administration there in the news? Very important. So, let's check out the answer. So, the answer is definitely B. Good answer. Good job, all the people who have given the answer. It's definitely representing and governing the Tibetan diaspora. Very correct. See, what is the most primary thing that you have to understand? So this is the reason why we have asked this news. You can see China's protest in Dalai Lama meeting US officials. Tibetan wants more autonomy for independence. So this between the Dalai Lama and officials of Central Tibetan Administration with US, so CTA. This is the reason why we have asked this question. Very importantly, what is the concept of Central Tibetan Administration? So please know about this, and it is called as the Tibetan Administration in Exile, is the political organization that functions as the de facto government for Tibetan people living in exile. Very, very important. Tibetan people living in exile. It was established to represent the interest of Tibetan outside Tibet, particularly those who fled following the 1959. So please understand, this is the golden point. It was established to represent the interest of Tibetan outside Tibet. Very important. People who are outside Tibet. And please remember, Sikyong is the political leader of that Sen. Sikyong is the position. Just like we say Lama, Sikyong is the political leader of the Skat. Please remember, Sikyong is the political leader. It to represent the diaspora, preserve Tibetan culture. It was officially established in 1959 in Dharmashala. Very, very important. So, Dharmashala, outside Tibetan people, outside Tibet. Because a lot of people fled Tibet to seek refuge in India following a Chinese 1959 Tibetan uprising. So Dalai Lama is both the spiritual and political leader, but Sikyong is the political leader of Cat. Please remember, Sikyong is the political leader. So please remember a few points, very quick points before I go to the next question. And Dharmashala in Himachal Pradesh serves as the headquarters of CTA, and it includes the office of Sikyong and Tibetan Parliament. So please do understand that it also has important things. You can actually go through this. It also has the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Also very, very important. The head of CTA is called Sikyong, who serves as a political leader. So it has the executive, legislative, and judicial. So it has the Tibetan parliaments in Dharmashala in Himachal Pradesh. So know about this. And CTA engages in international advocacy for Tibetan cause and awareness about human rights abuse in Tibet under Chinese rule. So please do remember about CAT, or the, sorry, it was not CAT, it was CTA. Sorry, it's CTA. Okay. So moving on to the next important question. Quickly moving on to the next question. Here we go. Consider the following statements regarding, we'll have one more question here. Quickly go. Consider the following statements regarding Canary Islands. The Canary Islands are an archipelago located in the Pacific Ocean. So it's an archipelago. What is the difference between an island and an archipelago? Please find out. What is the difference between an island and an archipelago in the geography perspective? Located in the Pacific Ocean. Canary Islands belong to France and are situated to the southwest of Iberian Peninsula. So definitely look out Pacific Ocean and Iberian Peninsula. Does it match? Does it match? Have geography clear cut. Pacific Ocean and Iberian Peninsula. Do you find a match? The Canary Islands do not share land borders with any countries. The Canary Islands do not have any land borders. What is your answer? Only one, only two, only three, none. Anybody who want to go for it? It's an archipelago in the Pacific Ocean by France, southwest of Iberian Peninsula. Do not share any land borders. What is the answer? See, I'll go with the answer very quickly here. A lot of people always believe that whenever you see such statements, do not. They are extreme statements, and most often you say that such extreme statements are wrong. But in this case, this statement is absolutely correct. So do not generalize. Not all the statements who have extreme statements like do not, only, are always wrong. Please don't believe that. Most often 70% they can be wrong, and but in this case this is wrong. Let's find out the answer very quickly. Darshana Arun says D, none. And thank you, Darshana, for the answer. And I appreciate Darshana. Darshana, thank you so much for joining from London. Uh, I really appreciate you joining from London. So good. I hope your preparation is really going good. And Darshana says it's Atlantic Ocean and it is in Spain. Most probably, let's check out the answer. The answer was Canary Islands do not share land borders with any countries. That your concept was right. Darshana made it very correct. She said it's an archipelago located in the Pacific Ocean. Absolutely right. Not in the Atlantic. It is not in the Pacific. It is actually in the Atlantic. It is not France. It is Spain. But Canary Islands do not share land borders with any countries. That is absolutely right. So that is where you went wrong. Only one is the correct statement. You can actually take a look at the statement and see why this news appeared in the newspaper. 8,000 migrants reach Spain's Canary Island. Spain's Canary Island. Everybody says Spain's Canary Island. It cannot be France at all. So that was a very obvious current affairs question that came from the newspaper. And let's check out the answer. See, take a look at this. La Palma, La Gomera, Tenerife, sorry for mispronouncing it, and Gran Canaria, Lanzarote. So you can see this. These are the islands. The archipelago is composed of 7 islands from largest: the Tenerife, the Fuerteventura, Gran Canaria, Lanzarote, La Palma, La Gomera, El Hierro are all known for, say, look at that. It does not have any land borders. Very clear. So that was the point. It's actually on the northwest coast of Africa. Very clear northwest. It's an autonomous community of European Union. It belongs to Spain. It's situated onto the southwest of Iberian Peninsula. That's all correct. It does not have any land borders. You can just take a look at this question. It does not have any land borders, but they are situated in the Atlantic Ocean, and it's very near to northwestern coast of Africa. The most nearest thing that you can see is Morocco. The most nearest thing is Morocco. Is the closest landmass is African continent, especially the Western Sahara, located east to the Canary Islands. You can see it's east to the Canary Islands is Sahara, Western Sahara, and the Morocco. Morocco is almost very clear to this. So please remember, La Palma, El Hierro, and Lanzarote are all designated as UNESCO Biosphere Reserves. Also, you can please write it down. And moving on to the last question of this current affairs class and current affairs MCQ discussion. Here we go. How many of you have got this correct? Consider the following statements regarding electoral bonds. What is the answer here? The concept behind these bonds was to reduce the influence of black money in politics, is the statement number 1. Reduce influence of black money. The electoral bonds are interest free. Banking and a citizen of India are interest free. A citizen of India or a body incorporated in the country is eligible to purchase them. 3 important clauses: interest free, anybody can in India can purchase this, or a body that is incorporated in the country is eligible. The electoral bond handed over to political parties can be encashed only through designated bank accounts. What is the answer? Let's quickly find out. Only 1, only 2, only 3. Let's find out what is the answer. Please, whether this is right. This is the first statement, second statement, third statement, and let's see what is the answer. Do you have any important comments that you can want to put out in this? Anything that you want to put out in this? Let's go to that and find out the answer very quickly. The answer was only 3 and all the above statements. This was to reduce the influence of black money, correct? They are electoral bonds are interest free, correct? And anybody, citizens can take it, and any body incorporated in the country can do this. And the banks and the electoral bonds handed to the political parties can encash only through designated bank accounts. Very, very important point. So very, very important point. So please do have an idea. So you can see that whenever there is a political party involved in this, always understand, whenever there is a political party involved in this, a political party. So what happens is always, this is actually a big debate. How is a political party funded? You should clearly see that there is always an important thing. Can you fund an X amount of money to a political party called X? How can you fund this political party? That is also very clear. So what happens is, this political funding, the funding that goes into the political party is always very mysterious, and people say that this is a very controversial. This is not properly accounted. So, in order to have a proper accounting, if you want to contribute your money to a political party, you can do this. You can buy an electoral bond. This was the basic concept. You can actually get an electoral bond through which you get an electoral bond. You are this person. So, through this, you can actually get an electoral bond. And through this electoral bond, the political party can get that fund. So, how do you do that? Let's quickly understand the basics of this. Very bare basics, and this is the reason why I asked you this question. A lot of controversies. How do they, and why is the electoral bond challenged in Supreme Court? A lot to see. It was actually created to curb the black money, but a lot of controversies state that the electoral bond has created more black money, and it has created more unaccounted money. It has created more unaccounted money for the political parties. So this is, and what is a bench of the Supreme Court is hearing petition challenging the constitutional validity of electoral bond scheme. So we should understand what are the most important thing that we have to understand here. Let's quickly understand it. The most important points. They were created and passed in 2018. Very important. Was released by Ministry of Finance in 2018, and it was created to reduce black money in politics and provide legal and transparent mechanism for individuals to contribute to political party. Just like you have seen, we need electoral bond. We need a more good system to contribute this. Finance Ministry said electoral bonds are bearer instrument. Very, very important. What is this concept of bearer instrument? What are bearer instrument? In case of bearer instruments, no ownership information is recorded and the holder of the document is assumed to be the owner. So please understand, bearer document, no ownership information is revealed. Imagine that you're a person called AB. You're a person called ABX. You have contributed, say, X amount of money to political party called XYZ. XYZ cannot know that ABX has contributed. Very, XYZ cannot know that ABX has contributed, because that is the confidentiality that we should create in electoral bonds. So basically, no, they are interest free. Point number one. As you can see, we already discussed this. Anybody in India can bond this. Any body incorporated in country can also get this. This ranges from rupees 1,000 and rupees 1 crore, and you can get this in SBI, State Bank of India. Very important. State Bank of India, you can get this, and they can be only bought by making payment from a bank account. You cannot simply go bank account. All these are creating transparency. So would not carry the name of the payee and have a life of only 15 days. There is only life of 15 days during which it can be used for making donations to political parties under certain criteria. So they are so I think you got this point. This is already discussed here. So this is clear. Only 15 days during which it can be used for making. And this is how it looks like. Please understand, this is how it looks like. This is an electoral bond. You can take a look at the picture here. This is the electoral bond. The identity of the donor remains confidential, reducing the risk of retaliation or intimidation for political affiliation. So please understand, ABX, the identity is not revealed here. However, since the inception, electoral bonds have been subject of controversy, with many questioning whether they have achieved the intended goal. One of the main criticisms of electoral bond is the lack of transparency regarding the source of the funds. So who is the ABX? There is another person called OPY or OPY. OPY is putting actually a lot of money, say 1 crore rupee, into electoral bond. Who is this OPX? What is the background of OPX? So transparency may not be right. So the donor's identity is not disclosed to the election commission, which makes it difficult to track the origin of political contribution. Where is OPX? Is OPX sitting in Nigeria or Abuja and making this payment? You do not know. Is in Mauritius. So this opacity has led to electoral bonds be used to launder illicit money into political system. So very important. This electoral bond has now, see, once it was created as a thing against black money, but now electoral bonds are used to launder money or illicit money into political system. Because most important, the identity of the donor is not revealed. It makes the election commission very difficult to track the origin. That is the most important point that we have to remember at this. So I think, can you solve this question now? All the question statements were absolutely right regarding the electoral bonds. So I've given 10 important questions and 10 major areas that you have to study. So what about this? That the most important lesson that you have learned in today's session is, number one, this coming Thursday, I'm having another session here. I'm having the next class 2 of current affairs for 2024 examination. So we'll have live like this. One live will be exclusively for current affairs MCQ discussion, where we'll learn current affairs topics. And all the topics that we have not learned here, I'll put it in the current affairs class. So one learning that all of you should learn at this point is, do not take it lightly. See, all the questions that you believe are from current affairs are not. See, let's go back to this question and repeat and see. You might have a different opinion on this all this question. Let's take a look at this. After seeing all these questions, and I'm sure all the persons who see this question will actually do this like this. Defamation. They'll say this is a question from Indian polity. No, this is a question from current affairs, which is polity related. People will say this is dispute settlement system from WTO is economy or economics. No, this is a question from current affairs on economy. And a lot of people will say that this is a question of Forest Conservation Amendment Bill 2023. This is a question on environment. No, this is a current affair question on environment. So please do understand when I tell you all this. This is a question on geography. No, this is a question on current affair. This is a question on environment and disaster management. No, this is a question on geography. So this is a performance grading index. This you will say that this is a current affair question since it is from education. And for you, open market sales scheme, you say this question is from economics, but this is a current affair question. And you see that this question again, CTA, this is from a question from international relations, but this is a current affair question. And definitely Canary Islands, international or world geography. This is a question from current affair. Electoral bonds. This you will say current affairs because this question absolutely looks like. Please understand, when we actually go forward, be ready and we will continue the series. I will definitely come up with more tricky questions where I'll trick you or I'll challenge you. So next time, be ready to solve those questions. And thank you so much for today's session. And Thursday at 7 p.m. we'll have the current affairs class. So please stay tuned for that. I'll have the class too. And the meanwhile, please do download LearnStoke IAS app and watch all the free class and get in touch with us if you want to talk to us. If you want to visit me directly, please come in Thrissur, Calicut, and Kannur. In the last few days, only if you're in Kerala. I think there are a lot of people who are outside Kerala. You can actually get in touch with me online. And a lot of thanks for all the people who came into Calicut and Kannur directly visiting us. And definitely thanks for that. And hoping to meet you all soon again. So again, thank you so much for this wonderful session. And we're wishing to see you soon in the next upcoming session. So thank you so much again. So again, I hope you like the session, and please do comment your suggestions. I'll definitely go through that, and let's see you in the next Thursday.